Hello angels, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing another get ready with me video. I decided I want to try doing a voiceover for the first time, so please let me know how you like this. I've never done one before, so I'm sorry if this is super awkward. Let me know in the comments if you would prefer my old format better. As always, please like this video if you enjoy content like this, and please consider subscribing. Sit back, get comfy, and let's get ready together. So starting off, I already have lenses in. These are from my new collaboration with My Eye of the Day. They're a Hong Kong based lens retailer and they sell a lot of nice Korean lenses. Next I'm going in with concealer. This is one of my favorite ones. I got this off of, I think it was Olive Young Global. It is very similar to the Maybelline Fit Me concealer that you can get at the drugstore, but this has a little bit more coverage than that one. I usually get that one when I can't get this one or if this one's out of stock, but I really like this because the color matching is really good and it doesn't crease on me. You might have noticed in my previous videos, I do like to let my concealer and foundation sit on my face a little bit before I blend it out, and then when I'm ready to do that, I just spray my sponge down and my face down with a little bit of setting mist. This is just going to help the product build a little bit of coverage, but also give it some lasting power, and the spray also helps it kind of bind to your skin a little bit better and more seamlessly, so it doesn't have that sort of cakey look when you're done with it. Another great benefit to doing things this way is that you're adding extra moisture into your routine without it being built into your skincare routine. So if you are somebody who struggles with dry skin in the winter, this is a great trick for you. If you are an oily skin person, this is also great because you're not loading up your skin with a lot of heavy moisturizers beforehand, which could cause problems with your product sitting on your skin. So this is a great trick to try if you're having issues with flaking or peeling or that sort of thing. Next, we're moving on to foundation. You know that I love to mix the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter in with whatever complexion product I'm using, and this just gives it a little bit more of a glow. So this foundation I really like, but it dries down like super matte, and adding in that extra product from Charlotte really makes it look more skin-like. It is a good foundation on its own, but it actually, once you powder it, just looks too corpse-like. So yeah. Here I'm just spreading it out in a thin layer with a packing brush. You can get this kind of brush anywhere. It's like the same kind of brush that you can use to mix up your DIY face masks. I didn't let it sit today because this is like a pretty heavy coverage foundation, so I just went ahead and sprayed it down and then blended it. But if you want a little bit more coverage than the product is already offering you, let it sit for maybe 2 or 3 minutes before you blend it out and you should be good. I actually started doing my foundation this way because I saw Chinese TikTok gurus do it this way. The trick is to work in multiple really thin layers to build up the coverage as opposed to just glopping it onto your face. This just makes it way easier to not only blend and work with, but you're wasting less product and you're getting the best coverage that you can get with your product without actually having to use like half the bottle. And you also work a lot faster doing it this way because I don't know about you guys, when you put the foundation like directly on your face in little dots, it literally takes me forever to blend. Next, we're gonna set everything. I like using a little powder puff instead of a brush right away. This just gives you the most amount of coverage and it just looks so much more flawless and airbrushed. I honestly had no idea why everyone was so obsessed with setting powders until I switched to using a puff instead of a brush, and honestly, game changer. It just makes everything look like you've got a smoothing filter on it. It's similar to baking, but baking is just way too intense for me. It makes everything just look awful, so I just never do it. I tried it once, never again. I got these puffs on Amazon, but if you don't have them, the ones that come in your baby cushion, like your baby cream cushion compacts, work just as well, and I was using those before I got these. Once I feel like I've packed on enough powder, I just go in with a big fluffy powder brush and swirl it in the lid of my setting powder just to pick up whatever is left in there and get the outer perimeter of my face. This is going to pick up any of the excess from the previous step and just disperse it everywhere. Next, we're moving on to contour. This is my first time using the Hollywood contour wand. It was sold out for the longest time. I'm struggling a little bit here because it's actually a twist up kind of applicator, and then you squeeze the product for it to come out into the little sponge. I really hate packaging like this, to be honest with you. It's so difficult to control the amount that comes out, so I was trying to be very careful and not over squeeze the tube, and that's kind of why I had that reaction. So I'm just dotting this in all of my usual places. That's the cheekbones, temple area, and the jawline. The formula is not as thick or like creamy. I guess it is kind of like the consistency of a thinner concealer, I suppose. And I'm just taking my usual brush and blending it out. It ended up being a lot sheerer than I thought it was gonna be. The color is actually not as crazy dark as it comes out, and it blends really, really easily. You can see that it basically just disappears into my skin and looks like a natural sort of shadow. I'm going a little bit nuts here with the blending because I can feel it kind of drying on my skin as I'm blending the rest of it out, so I'm trying to get to it without it just being a dot on my face. You can kind of still see the dot that's on my chin and that one spot above my mole, so I would definitely work in sections if you are planning to do your whole face with this. Don't do it the way that I did, because the parts that I did later are definitely starting to dry down and you can still see kind of like that circular shape from the sponge, which is not good. But overall, it's a really nice product and I like it a lot. I think this would be great if you want to travel and you don't want to take too many things with you, because usually if you do a cream, or at least if I do a cream contour, I like to go over it with a powder sometimes. So instead of 2 products, I can just take 1. At this point, it blended out pretty good. I just went back in to try to get any of those remaining circles, but otherwise I like the finish of this. Next, we're doing blush. This is from one of my new favorite brands. It's called Flower Nose. It is a Chinese makeup brand that started back in 2016. I think the owners are a cosplay couple and they really just wanted to make a line of products that look cute and girly. So this is kind of what they came up with. They have a couple of different collections that are all extremely gorgeous, so I highly recommend that you check them out. The quality is great, and I also have a coupon code if you want a discount, so check the description box for details. So I just want a little bit more color and I kind of want it to be a little bit more glowy, so I'm going in with this Charlotte Tilbury palette. This is similar to the NARS Orgasm blush, but it's more of a peachy kind of shade as opposed to the pink undertones, and this is just going to give me a little bit more color than that last blush is giving. That one was nice, but it does have kind of a more pastel sort of muted finish, so this brought a little bit more dimension back into my face. Next, we're moving on to brows. I don't really have any because I overplucked them when I was younger and then I got them microbladed and never got that touched up, so I'm going in with this brow pen. It has a forked or multi-prong tip, and depending on how you hold it, you can really get in there and draw some realistic hairs. So I like to start off with this and just block off the general shape of the brow that I want to do. I don't usually deviate from my microbladed brow shape, so I try to follow the shape that my artist had laid down and just thicken it up a little bit. I also use this to kind of fill in roughly the sparse areas. I try not to spend too much time getting this looking too neat because I'm gonna be using like 2 or 3 different products after this to fill it all in and make it look the way that I want. So I'm just making sure that the general thickness and shape is there. It's more of, I guess, like a darker guideline for me to work with since the foundation covered up the tattooing. Next, I'm just going to go in with a brow powder. This is going to give it a little bit more color. The pen I was using before was a kind of gray brown, but these have a warmer brown tone to it, so it looks a little bit more natural, and depending on my hair color, it's a little bit more complementary. Right now my hair is a little bit faded, so I don't want to have a super dark brow, and this really helps lighten the tone of the overall brow for me. And I'm following the gradient in the palette, so I'm keeping the dark color on the end, the medium shade in the middle, and then the light shade in the front. This is just going to help my brow look a little bit more dimensional instead of a big blocky brown patch on my face. Nothing wrong if you're a fan of that look, but that's just personally not something that I like on myself. So once I'm pretty happy with that, I go back in with a brow pencil. This one's from Etude House and it's double-ended. It has a spoolie on one end. I just go in and brush everything out to give it more of a fluffy blended look before using the pencil side to draw in individual hairs. The pencil side is actually shaped like a triangle, so it has some sharp edges for you to really get in there and be precise with your brow hairs. It's probably not coming up on camera very well, but I promise you in person it looks a little bit more realistic. This is just going to make it, again, look less blocky and more natural, however natural fully drawn on brows could be, I guess. I do apologize for the weird amount of like popping and warping in this video. Basically, I'm filming this with my front-facing camera with a beauty camera app so that it focuses me and kind of like blurs my background. I wasn't able to get this mirrored on my computer so that I can do it proper though. You know how it is with these apps, even if you turn off all the beauty features, it still kind of like makes your head smaller, so that's kind of what that popping is. So next we're moving on to eyeshadow. I wanted to use this Huda Beauty Rose Quartz palette because I haven't used it in a while and I'm not really sure how to use these colors, to be honest, so I looked up a reference photo online. I'll link her blog and the image source in the description below, but basically this is the look and I'm just gonna guesstimate kind of what shades she used and try to recreate this but make it gal. I'm taking 2 of the matte shades and I'm using that as my transition color. I'm going to put it all over my lid, but focusing mostly on the outer corner and that one little area that's just under my nose contour in front of my brow. I really like putting the color in these places because it accentuates my eye shape very well and gives it a lot more depth and dimension. Asian eyes are a little bit more on the flat side sometimes, so placing your eyeshadow in these positions is going to give it more of a rounded and balanced look. Next I'm taking this baby pink shade, it's called Cherished in the palette, and I'm just going to put that in between the 2 colors that I put down previously and blend it all the way into my crease, all over my lid. This is just going to make it a little bit more cohesive. I didn't want that dark color all over because we're going to put a shimmer in the middle. Next I'm switching up my brush. I'm going to take a angled eyeshadow brush and go in with the 2 brown shades on the top. They are also matte. They're called Aura and Gratitude. And I'm just going to darken up those areas that I did in the first eyeshadow step. So that's the outer corner and the area that's just under my brow in the front. I want this to have a little bit of a smoky and glamorous kind of vibe to it, but I don't want it to be too intense, so I'm not spreading it around too much on the lid. I'm just going to concentrate it in the areas that I had already laid down that transition color. And then I'm going to go back in with the brown and dip into a lighter, it looks gray on camera, but it actually is just a cool tone brown. That one is called Precious in the palette. And I'm going to take that and just put it all over my lash line, blending it into the brown that I put in the outer corner just to give it a little bit more of a smoky kind of vibe. Then I'm also taking it into my lower lash line just on the outer corner a little bit, again just to smoke it out and make the entire color placement cohesive. The initial mixture of Aura and Gratitude was just a little bit too warm, so I decided to go in with Precious instead just to make it a little less warm. Next I'm just taking an eyeshadow brush and grabbing the shade Cosmic Love. I think it is a duochrome sort of situation. It is a iridescent purple pink shade, and I'm putting that just in the inner third of my eyelid, stopping right before the outer corner shadow. Then I'm going to dip into Blissful with the other side of the brush, which is a gold green foil sort of color, and using that to blend the Cosmic Love shade into the outer corner. I'm also placing this in the inner lower third of my eye and the inner corner just to brighten things up. So I don't know if you noticed, but I basically skipped my nose contour, so I'm gonna go back and do it now. The reason I did this was I wasn't really sure what highlighter I wanted to use since the look was so reflective, but I have it figured out by this point, so I'm going in with this Peri Para palette and just taking this angled brush from e.l.f. I'm drawing in these little triangles by the base of my nose, and I know I referenced the nose contour in a previous step, but I totally forgot that I hadn't actually done it yet. So if you've seen my previous videos, you know that I like to do my nose contour this way. Essentially, I just draw these little triangles by the front of my brow, and this will kind of set the guideline for how narrow everything is. Then I'll draw a V right above my nostrils near the tip of my nose, and then connect them in the middle to give the illusion of a higher nose tip. Once that's done, I basically draw a straight line from the 2 triangles near my brows down to the top of the V that I drew, and that's basically the shape that I like these days. It's pretty flattering on me. It reminds me of the button nose kind of contour that e-girls do, but it does have a Gyaru element to it since it is essentially straight line down from my forehead to my nose tip. Once I have those points down, I basically just go in and blend and build the intensity until I'm happy with it. Once I'm happy with that, I move on to highlight. I really like this one from Fenty Beauty. It is a finely milled reflective glitter sort of highlight. I'm so bad at descriptions, I'm sorry, but it looks crazier in the pan than it does on your skin, and it just kind of gives you that like wet, dewy look. Next, I'm switching up to a smaller brush. This is just for precision purposes, and I'm adding the highlight to my nose tip, nose bridge, and also my cupid's bow. I really like doing my cupid's bow and my philtrum just to make my lips a little bit more pouty because I don't like to line my lips usually, and this kind of just makes them pop out a little bit more. I'm just going in and adding a little bit more on my cheekbones and also adding it to the area just under my brow bone. Next, we're moving on to the namida, bukuro, or eggyosal makeup. I'm just taking the darkest shade in the palette. It's called Mantra, and I'm going to squint a little bit so that I can find where to put it. I prefer to start kind of in the middle of where my eye is and then blend it out on either side of where I place the initial dot of eyeshadow. You can do this in whatever shape or darkness that you like. I tend to go for medium to dark gray or brown shades for this, even if I'm doing a colored look. I feel like it's the most flattering way to do the shadow. Sometimes I'll go with like a red or blue if the look is crazy enough, but yeah, that's kind of what I do. Since my setup's kind of jank, I just curled and mascaraed my lashes off camera. You probably can't tell because I have like 3 lashes, so just ignore that step. I'm just going in and tightlining. This is legit the one step that I will never skip no matter what kind of makeup I'm doing. This is especially important if you're wearing false lashes because nothing is more off-putting than seeing this line of skin underneath your falsies. So please always tightline, or cannot stress enough how this is like the biggest pet peeve of mine in makeup. I'm also just taking this in the inner third of my lower waterline and stopping just about the middle of my eye where the droop is going to start. Next, we're going to move on to eyeliner. This has got to be probably one of my favorite steps because you get to see the entire look come together. I think I'm going to do a wing today, so I'm starting from the inner corner and just lining as close to my lash line as possible, with it being a little bit thicker towards the middle and then slimming down again at the end. Then when I reach the end, I'm going to very carefully draw a line outwards towards the tail of my eyebrow, and once I'm happy with the length, I'm going to connect it to the rest of the eyeliner that I drew. I don't always get the length of the wing right the first time, so whenever I'm done filling it in, sometimes I'll go back and extend it to wherever I feel like I'm happy with it. Usually I will do it a little bit longer than I think I should do it just because my lashes will cover up a lot of it. And once that's done, I'm going to move on to doing the inner corner. I very carefully use the tip of my pen to kind of stamp a little triangle down, and then I'll fill it in and connect it to my inner corner in my lower waterline. Next, I'm going to draw the droop. I basically start in the middle of my eye and draw a small curve down and out to connect to the wing. You can do whatever shape you feel like flatters you, but I tend to do a slight curve that's pretty close to my natural lash line, and that flatters my eye shape the most. So this next up is totally optional. I basically picked up this habit when I experimented with Chopa's makeup, and I thought it was really cute, especially since my eyelid folds are very low on my eye. And I'm basically just taking this liner and drawing in a fake crease. Usually I'll look forward to do this, but with the way that I'm filming, it's a little bit difficult to get the right angle so that I can see. I'm basically tracing my natural eyelid fold and drawing it slightly above so that you can see it behind the lashes. Next, we're going to move on to lashes. These are some of my favorite ones. They're from Coco Lash in the style Stella. They are a great dupe for the Diamond Lash Glamorous Eye, and they're super affordable. I think they're maybe $5.99 a pair. The quality is really good and they last super long, so you can wear them for like 2 to 3 weeks if you take care of them really well, and they'll just keep their shape really well, unlike the Diamond Lash ones that'll just fall apart if you look at them wrong. Okay, so I honestly always fuck up my look because I pick the worst bottom lashes. I am so bad at picking bottom lashes, but this is a pair that I often have trouble working with. I figured that these look pretty good on smokier looks, so I'm gonna go for these today. They are a bit spiky on the end, but towards the inner corner part they get very, very thin, and I don't know, I just like don't understand lashes that are not spiky all throughout the band. They just confuse me. So if anybody has tips on how to use these kinds of lashes better, please let me know in the comments below. So once the lashes are on, I'm just going back in with my eyeliner and making that droop a little bit thicker on the end. The lashes will cover up a lot of that eyeliner, so I want it to pop a little bit more by adding some of it back on top. Not too much, because I still want there to be a little bit of a gap. So usually you can leave it as is, but because I wanted this to be a little bit of a smoky look, I'm just gonna go back in with that darker brown shade and tap it into that gap to deepen it a little bit. But I don't want it to be like a solid color, I just want it to have sort of a smoky feel so that the color looks like it connects to the outer corner and crease color. Next we're moving on to lips. I'm just taking this nude matte color and using it to set a base for my lips. You can use a lip liner if you want for this step, but I don't really like lining my lips too much. I don't do it that often. I like using a tint better because it's more forgiving. I'm gonna lay most of the color in the center of my lips and then use a Q-tip to blend out the edges. This will give you that feathered look. Next I'm taking a lip tint and I'm just putting it in the center of my lips and creating more definition with the color placement. You just kind of want it in the middle of where you place that last color, so not quite to the edge of your lips like that first color we put down. And once I have all of the color down, I am doing the same thing and just blending it into the base lip color with a Q-tip. This is the easiest way I find that you can make a gradient lip. So if you're a fan of those Korean lip tint looks, this is the best way to do it in my opinion. Once that's blended out, I'm done. This is the finished look. I hope you enjoyed watching this. It was very interesting to film and do the voiceover for this, so please let me know if you enjoyed my efforts here. Be sure to follow me on Instagram, and if you like this video, please consider liking the video and subscribing to my channel so that you can get updates on all of my new uploads. I'll be traveling for work in a couple of weeks, so I'll be vlogging and hopefully that will be interesting to you. I've never vlogged before, so I'm excited to try. I'll leave links to all the products in the description below, but some of the products that I mentioned and used are discontinued, or maybe I don't have the link for it. I'll try to leave you something similar. If you have any questions, feel free to leave me a comment below. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!